Hi friends, welcome to Raising Lifelong Learners. I'm your host, Colleen Kessler, and this is the podcast where I encourage you to trust yourself and your differently wired kiddos as you help cultivate their curiosity, encourage them to discover the world around them, embrace who they are wired to be, all while helping them discover their passions, interests, and raise them to become the amazing adults they're meant to be. Hey, welcome back. This is episode 209. Today, I am talking all about self-care. Now, self-care is one of those things that comes up again and again all through homeschooling circles, and it's also one of those things that can give you the desire, right, to give a big eye roll when you hear it, because self-care seems so fluffy and kind of indulgent and brings to your brain ideas of bubble baths and leisurely strolls and popping chocolate or hiding in the closet and getting away from everybody else. But I want us to take it seriously, and I want us to think about it because it's super important when you're homeschooling neurodivergent kids to give yourself the time to pour into yourself so that you have something to give back to the kids. Otherwise, you're going to be burnt out and you're not going to be able to support your kids in the way that they need supported. So this one is really important, and I want you to hear it, especially as you're embarking on a new homeschool year. Okay, before we get started, I just want to give a quick shout out to CTC Math. Thanks, as always, for sponsoring this season of the podcast. We appreciate you. We're going to tell you a little bit about them later on in this episode. If you haven't had a chance, check out ctcmath.com. Okay, now pop your earbuds in, go for a walk, indulge in a little bit of self-care, right, by listening and learning. I can't wait to hear what you think about this episode. So let's get on with it. Here's the thing, just a kind of little side note here. We forget often that we started homeschooling because for whatever reason, we decided way back when, or yesterday if you're a brand new homeschooler, that the traditional model of education was not going to be a fit for our family. Now, whether we came to that conclusion because something happened in the school system that wasn't a fit, like what happened to us 13 years ago when we realized that our oldest was not going to fit inside the box of the public education system, and we pulled him out and then continued homeschooling the rest of our kids as we went along. Or you came into homeschooling because of the pandemic, because you realized how much your kids thrived by being home, or you realized how much filler there actually is in the school system because we have to keep our kids busy for 8 hours a day, speaking as a former public school teacher. Or you knew from the beginning that you were going to homeschool because you had a family history, you knew somebody who was homeschooling and you liked the way that their family ran, you were homeschooled yourself, you had a moral or a spiritual or an ideological or an academic reason from the get-go for doing this. It doesn't matter why you came into homeschooling, but the point is you came into homeschooling for a reason. And one of those reasons within that decision-making process was that the traditional model of education wasn't going to be a fit for your family. So remember that. It's not going to be a fit. And by trying to model our homeschool after the traditional model that's not a fit or what somebody else is doing is a recipe for disaster, right? Not only is homeschooling personal because it's home, it's in your own home with your own family and your own family dynamics, but it is variable, it's adjustable, and it's supposed to be one of those make your own kind of adventures, right? Do you remember those choose your own adventure books from when we were little? I don't know if you read those. Actually, my kids have read a few of those and enjoyed them too, where at the end of the chapter, you get to choose this way or that way, and then it directs you to another page to read, and then you come to another crossroads and you make another choice and you go, and then depending on how you've chosen throughout the book, you get to one of a couple different endings. Homeschooling's the same way. And we get to choose our own adventure. We get to make our own endings. My homeschool right now doesn't look like my homeschool did 13 years ago. My homeschool 13 years ago didn't look like it did 5 years ago. We have changed and grown and had setbacks and had to readjust and reevaluate throughout the time. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about homeschooling is that we can adjust kid to kid and year to year as we need to. It's also one of the things that messes with us as parents. So that brings me to the conversation today all about self-care. It's kind of one of those, I don't know, like buzz things, right, in social media, in the mom blogging or the mom influencer, and even the homeschool world, whether you're watching videos on TikTok, you're listening to podcasts, you're reading blog posts, you're scrolling Instagram, you're in Facebook groups. Taking care of yourself comes up again and again and again, right? Mom self-care, homeschool mom self-care. Here's the thing. There's a lot of cliches out there in the self-care world, and to a mom who is depleted because they have therapy after therapy after therapy, they have high needs kids, high energy kids, or kids who have high abilities that are pulling that mom or dad or both in a million different directions. Some of the cliched examples of self-care are just not helpful, right? I can't tell you the last time I soaked in a bubble bath with, I don't think that it has happened in decades, right? Because our lifestyle doesn't allow for that. Now, don't get me wrong. I would happily take a bubble bath surrounded by candles and a good book like I used to when I only had one child and before that. But our lifestyle is crazy right now, and it's got a lot to do with the needs of my kids. I have a child still at home who's graduated our homeschool and is going to community college and studying some different things and working on a business and potentially a course, and still needs a little bit of support because differently wired brains need support long into their adulthood sometimes. I have a very, very busy teen daughter who is in theater and an a cappella group and takes private dance, private acting, private voice lessons, and is being pulled in a lot of different directions. As I'm recording this right now, we are about to enter closing weekend for a show she's been doing and rehearsing for the last 3 months. There's a lot going on with that. I have another daughter, my other teen, actually I keep forgetting that she's a teen too, who's about to start a show. So we'll be starting rehearsals, and she's doing all sorts of things, learning an instrument and involved in a fine arts program. And then my youngest has joined the fine arts program as well and is learning an instrument too. We are pulled in a lot of different directions with a lot of different needs, and my schedule is packed. I talk to other moms of teens, especially differently wired teens whose kids are very involved in whatever their passions are. And we have kind of the same lament. Like, it was hard when our kids were young and they needed us every single minute of the day to be there and talk them through things and help them out with all different kinds of activities, before they could really write and read independently or before they could regulate their emotions better than they can now. And it was hard and it was exhausting and it was a different level of need. Back then, they did kind of the things that I signed them up for, right? Now, we're taking them to the things that they're interested in doing. So the schedules are a different kind of busy, and they're pulled in different directions. It used to be easy when they were young to lump them into the same things, but that doesn't happen now. And so self-care for me has to look different. Self-care for you, homeschool mom, might have to look different. If you've got differently wired kids who are in a lot of therapies or programs or are doing things that they're passionate about, you might not have time to give yourself when you need it. And so let's talk about how we can fit in self-care in a way that is reasonable, realistic, and still helpful. So first of all, I want to say that it's not optional. Even though it seems like from what I just said, it being hard means that it's not easy to fit in and sometimes you just can't fit it in. That's not what I'm saying, actually. Self-care for a homeschooling mom of a differently wired kid is not optional. It's non-negotiable. You need to be relentless about caring for yourself. Now, that's going to look different for some moms than others. For me, I don't have a lot of close friends in person, like in my real life, very close to me. I have a handful of people that I would get together for a glass of wine or a dinner out or lunch, but they're just as busy as I am, and they're in the stage of life where they're running around. My closest friends actually are from traveling all these years and live in different states. I talk to them on a regular basis and daily for some of them to keep me grounded in that connection with other adults. And so that's important. That's a way I've given myself to be able to connect with friends when I can't get together for lunch on a regular basis or dinner. In fact, I have a friend with whom I've reconnected after a long time of us kind of being apart. Her kids go to a traditional school. We had kids around the same time. We used to teach together, and we used to get together weekly, actually, for a book club. But as our kids grew older and her kids started getting more and more involved in the school system, and I had a couple extra kids, she only had 2, we just grew apart because our needs were different. We were pulled in different directions. And we've reconnected recently. Her 2 kids are off at college, and, mine are a little bit older, but it's still hard for me to get together with her because she now works part-time during the day, and I am homeschooling my kids during the day. So I'm freer like late afternoon, and she's free after dinner time. But after dinner time, I'm running my kids to theater and rehearsals and watching shows and different things like that. So our schedules aren't meshing again. So it's hard to do things in person. And that's okay, right? That's okay. So what do we do when that's the case? We need to assess where we are. So first of all, it's not optional. Self-care is not optional. We just need to figure out how we can fit it in and do it in a way that's going to be helpful for us. It's not, but the first thing we need to do once we accept that it's not optional is assess where we are. We're all in different points in our lives. So to say, go for a walk every day, make sure you meet a friend for lunch, that you take that bubble bath, or you close yourself in your room, is discounting the very real place that you're in. You might not have children who can be left alone for any stretch of time. And you might have a spouse that works a tremendous amount of hours and isn't there to give you that break. And so you need to find those opportunities where and how you can. For me, for a long time, it was using the app Voxer, which is like a walkie-talkie app. It's a thing that allows you to leave messages, voice messages, and voice memos or texts or send pictures or videos. And whomever you're sending them to can get back whenever they have a chance. And so it was an opportunity for me to have, and in fact, I still use it really daily. It's an opportunity to have a conversation that's ongoing that I can answer when I have a chance and they can answer when they have a chance. And so we're connecting throughout the day as we can. So that was one of the ways that I could connect with people. And I give myself opportunities to go out to dinner with my friends when I travel for conventions. Now, I've been very lucky to be able to travel to speak to homeschool moms around the country. And one of the things that I've been able to do during that time is connect with a lot of people in various states who are doing the same thing I'm doing. Some of those are speakers as well, and some of those are homeschool moms that I've met throughout the process and become really close friends with. I have a friend that I try to get together with, even if it's just lunch at the convention center, every single time I'm in South Carolina. She lives in North Carolina. She comes to the South Carolina convention, and we try to connect as best we can. That is usually the only time of year. We've been trying to get our families together and meet halfway for years. And often, actually so far, the only way we've been able to get together is at convention. But we make a point to do that then. And then the few speakers that I'm very close with, we make a point to go to dinner or order dinner in to one of our hotel rooms at each convention so we can just relax and decompress. So find your ways, even if it's only a couple times a year, going out to dinner. But assess where you are and be reasonable about it. For a long time, I couldn't get away, and it was meeting my husband in the driveway when he finally got home from work and saying, okay, I just need a break. I'm going to go drive around the block a few times, or I'm going to go to Panera and get a cup of coffee and a pastry, and I'm going to sit and read a book. Just text me when the kids are in bed. I just need a little bit of a break. It's whatever it is that you need to do. Once you can schedule it regularly, whether that's now or 5 years from now, do it and then protect it. So the second thing I want you to remember after you've assessed kind of where you are is to protect your self-care time. So sometimes self-care looks like starting a hobby and doing it while your kids are doing something else around you. If that's crocheting or knitting or reading or listening to audiobooks or writing, do that and protect it by saying, okay, guys, I'm going to put on a documentary, or I'm going to put on, Phineas and Ferb, or whatever it is that they like to watch, and then give yourself that half an hour or that hour to knit or crochet or write or journal, or just sit in a dark room with twinkle lights and listen to an audiobook. All of those give back to yourself in a way that is meaningful to you. So if that's chocolate, if that's a bath, if that's a shower, if that's a conversation on the phone with a friend, if that's reading a book or listening to an audiobook or just sitting and staring off into space, do it and protect it. Hey there. Okay, so if you have been listening to the podcast for a while, you know how grateful I am to CTC Math. Not only is CTC Math our season-long sponsor, in fact, they've jumped on for another year. They're so supportive of raising lifelong learners and all of the topics and content that we bring to you. And it just allows us to continue to bring you great resources and guests and topics that can help you in your homeschooling differently wired kiddos journey. But CTC is the math program that I use and love with my kids. I am not only sponsored by them here, but I am a subscriber. I am a paying subscriber. I have been purchasing my subscription for the last several years, and I am a customer. I believe in CTC Math. I love it. It is what we use in our home. But you don't have to take my word for it. I thought it would be fun to share with you an email that I got recently. So first, just in case you're new to this, if you don't know, CTC Math is an online math curriculum that's perfect for homeschoolers, especially homeschoolers who have kiddos of different ability levels, because they do the teaching for you, but you get access in your subscription to all the grade levels. So your kids can hop around as needed, they can accelerate through if they need to, they can go back for some remediation in certain areas if they need to, but it's just great. Okay, I have to share this email with you. Sandy wrote, Colleen, thank you. Since you first highlighted this program, we have been using it with great success. Well, I say great success, but math still gives us what we call the math yawns. Still, math is happening, and I'm folding laundry and chiming in with good luck with your questions in my best Aussie accent. It is a terrific tool for us. My kids love it, and so do I. So thank you for sharing. Just in case you don't know, CTC Math is based in Australia. So yes, the lessons are taught with an Australian accent, and we love it because my kids think it's so cool to be taught in this beautiful, rich accent. But they're learning and they're accelerating at their own pace, and you don't have to just take my word for it. You can take Sandy's word for it too. And if you're a listener and you've tried CTC Math, I would love it if you would let me know how it's working for you. Just shoot us an email or a voicemail message. You can go over to raisinglifelonglearners.com/podcast. And on any of the show notes page, there is a link to a voicemail widget. There is also a link to the contact form, which goes directly to my email. All right, check out ctcmath.com. Thank them for sponsoring the content here, and check them out because they are a phenomenal, phenomenal program. Okay, let's get back to today's episode. Third thing I want you to do is make an ideal plan. What is something you can do that will fuel your soul and give back to yourself so that you know what options you have when the time comes? So for me, what I would do is, or what I do is I journal about that. I want to someday learn how to knit. That's like a someday thing. I love to write. I have been a writer since before I ever published a thing. So journaling is important to me. Working on a book project is important to me. And finding a way to do some creative writing is something that I need to give myself time for. Whatever it is, jot it down and think about it, and then make some plans. What can you do right now? Schedule that in. 5 minutes in the kitchen with earbuds in, a walk around your backyard in circles while listening to a podcast. Over the summer, I've been known to lay on the trampoline and let the sun beat on my face while I listen to a podcast episode. Whatever it is, make your ideal plan and then set up some accountability. Accountability can be a friend on Voxer. Hey, I need 10 minutes to myself every day. I'm going to check in with you and let you know I took that 10 minutes. If you don't hear from me, check back with me and ask me about it. It might be one of your kids. My kids love being accountability partners. One of the things that my kids are checking in on me now about, which I have to admit I've been terrible about, I've not been taking great care of myself in this particular situation. Many of you know I've talked about it, that I sustained a concussion earlier this summer, and my son keeps asking me if I've played any logic games today, because I asked him to be accountable to me for that, because logic puzzles and logic games are good brain training and retraining exercises to help me gain back some of that sustainability, some of that, not sustainability, I guess, what's the word? Consistency, I guess, maybe is the right word for that. Just the cognition, the building up, the stamina building, I guess is a better term. Logic puzzles and logic games are great for stamina building and to build up my cognition. And my recall, I'm still struggling. I'm 2.5 months in and I'm still struggling from post-concussion syndrome. And so they love that accountability. They love to say, oh, you're tripping up your words again, Mom. Maybe you need to do some logic puzzles, or maybe you just need to relax for a while, and let them hold you accountable. Here's the other thing. When we involve our kids and show them that we need to take care of ourselves in ways that seem meaningless in the outside world, like, why do you need to worry about knitting? Or, okay, you're listening to another audiobook or whatever. What we're actually doing, moms, I want you to remember this, because I think that this is one of the most profound things that we can keep reminding ourselves of. When we show our kids that it is important to take care of ourselves, it's important to have a hobby, to enjoy something, to do something for the pure enjoyment of it or the relaxation of it, to watch a movie, to read a book, to listen to an audiobook, to listen to a podcast, to learn something new, to try a new hobby. We are showing our kids what it means to be a well-rounded, happy, healthy, mentally and physically adult. We are our kids' only example of what a healthy parent looks like, right? They're only seeing what the full effects of parenting looks like in our home. They might think somebody else has a better mom or a better dad because they get to do this, that, or the other. But the truth of the matter is they're watching us closely. And so if we are burnt out, if we are exhausted, if we have nothing for ourselves, we don't do anything that lights us up or lifts us up, our kids are learning that that's what parenthood and adulthood is. It's working, it's driving ourselves into the ground, and it's exhaustion all the time. And think about it. Ask yourself, what do you want your kids to take away from their childhood? How do you want your kids to be 10, 15, 20, 25 years from now? And adjust how you are to model that for them. So self-care is not optional for a lot of reasons. It's not optional because you don't want to burn out and not have anything left for yourself or your kids or your spouse. It's not optional because you don't want your kids to believe that that's all there is to adulthood. It's not optional, period. You need to take care of yourselves in order to have a family, a life that is thriving. Assess where you are, protect your self-care, get to bed early, don't just scroll and scroll and scroll, don't respond to every notification, don't say yes too often and burn yourself out. Make an ideal plan of what self-care looks like for you, set up accountability, and remember, your kids are watching. You've got this. I am so proud of you for the parent that you are, the homeschool mom you are, or homeschool dad. I know there's a few dads that listen. You have got this. We can help. If you're ever feeling overwhelmed, if you're ever feeling just down about any of this, reach out. We respond to every email. We respond to every message, every DM. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, especially after this summer when I'm still recovering. My time online is much more limited than it once was, but it is still there. So I still respond to everything as I can. Reach out and we will talk you up. We will give you resources, connect you to links or other things that can help you out. You're a great mom. You're a great parent. You're a killer homeschool parent. You are doing a phenomenal job. Don't doubt that. All right, I'm going to be back next week. You can find links to the resources we talked about and other things that can help you with your self-care routine and staying accountable to yourself and helping others help you stay accountable over on the show notes for this episode. You can find the show notes for this and all the other episodes of the podcast over at raisinglifelonglearners.com/podcast. And another shout out to CTC Math. Thanks so much for sponsoring this and helping us get this message out. Moms, if you're looking for a great math program, CTC Math is it. I highly recommend it. If you already have one you love, check out the resources through CTC's social media and just follow them. They share and support homeschool moms in great ways, even if you're not using them, even though I highly recommend it. They're just really, really supportive of the homeschool community. Don't forget, you are an amazing, amazing parent. You're doing a great job. You've got this. I'm so proud of you. I will be back same time, same place next week. Have a great one. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.